The panel RNZ National, so this from the press recently, the catastrophic redundancy of 250 Westport coal miners will happen in about 3 years if a mine's expansion is not approved under fast-track legislation, a meeting heard. So mining company Bathurst Resources is seeking fast-track approval to extend the life of the near-depleted Stockton mine for another 25 years and to mine 20 million tonnes of coking coal for export. All this raised in a debate organised by campaign group Climate Liberation Aotearoa, and Patrick Phelps is a manager of mining industry group Minerals West Coast, the occasional panellist as well. Patrick, kia ora.
Kia ora, Wallace.
You're also based on the coast. Catastrophic is a big call. Redundancy of 250 would it hit hard?
Oh, yeah, substantially. Certainly up in the Buller, to give some context to that, West Coast has got 3 districts: Westland District in the south, Grey District in the middle, Buller in the north, and in Buller, mining accounts for about 25% of the GDP of the district and about 10% of the total workforce employed as well. So, yeah, I would say that catastrophic is far from an understatement.
Let's go on the panel on this. Nikki?
So it's near depleted and it needs to be expanded to access more coal, is that right?
Correct.
And you think there's 25 years more coal available in there?
That seems to be what the geologists have figured out, and that seems to be the signals that Bathurst are putting out to market, so I would say that is the case.
And what are the environmentalists objecting to?
I think there's 2 fronts to this. So one would be the biodiversity impacts from the production side of it. So the Denniston Plateau, they are peculiar ecosystems up there, so there will be an impact when that coal is extracted. There'll be rehabilitation afterwards, but nonetheless there will be things that aren't the same as they were before. So that's the production side of it, is the objections from the environmentalists. And on the consumption side of it, coal being a fossil fuel emits CO2 into the atmosphere, so the climate change aspect of the consumption of that coal when it's used for the purpose that'll be exported overseas to produce steel.
Can I ask you why we're exporting our high-grade coal overseas when we still have a coal-burning plant in Huntly?
So the coal-burning plant in Huntly, it's quite unusual in the world. I don't know if it's unique, but it's very uncommon. That actually uses a subbituminous coal, or what would be colloquially referred to as a thermal coal, because it's used to make steel from the iron sands that are mined by NZ Steel in the northern Waikato. Whereas this coal is bituminous coal or metallurgical coal that's used to produce coke, to produce it in a coke oven, which is then used in a blast furnace to produce steel. And that's the conventional method all around the world. It's just the steel mill in the Waikato that NZ Steel have got, that's a very unusual one in the world because of the materials that it uses, namely the iron sands and the subbituminous coal. So the coal that's getting exported can't be used to produce steel in New Zealand.
Leonie.
So I understand that we're still using coal in New Zealand. It's about 7% of our total energy supply. And that's
Is it 7%?
Yeah, back up to electricity, and it's still required for steel making and other things. So what do you think of sort of in a time frame, if while there's work going on around other renewables and things like that, how long do you think we still need to produce coal for until we can have alternatives that will provide enough energy for New Zealand?
Well, I think in the context of this coal that was being discussed the other night, it's how long do we think it's going to take to be able to produce steel without coal? And I really couldn't give you an answer to that. I mean, to put it in context, the world each year produces about 8 or 9 billion tonnes of coal, and the better part of 1 billion tonnes of that gets used to make steel. And the reason that coal is used to make steel is that iron ore in its natural state is a bond between iron and oxygen. You've got to break that bond and give the oxygen something else to attach itself to, and through the heat and the chemical process it attaches itself to the carbon and goes into the atmosphere as carbon dioxide. So that's not a bug, that's a feature. And I struggle to picture any world that we're going to live in that doesn't have steel in it. It's just that I just can't fathom that.
Okay, look, there will be many listening to this tonight, Richard, who will be actually quite shocked that you're going to have nearly 30 years to move away from coal mining, quite frankly. Do we have that sort of time? I mean, we're in an environment now, look around you, today, tomorrow, Australia. You know, we're in a climate crisis.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I mean, I was in that debate the other night, and I think, possibly criticised an opinion put forward by one of my counterparts on the environmental side of it and said, you're ignoring the laws of physics to suggest that we can make steel with hydrogen or electricity yet. That technology's just not there. But the good thing about a debate is you put your own views into perspective, and within the laws of physics, we can't continue to put CO2 into the atmosphere. Completely agree. Like, that's got to stop eventually. What I struggle with living here on the West Coast, this isn't something that's hypothetical to people living here. This is a reality. If you lose your job as a coal miner, you're not going to stay in Westport to serve coffee for a fraction of the income. You're very likely going to have to move to some other part of the country, and all that does mean is catastrophic. What I struggle with, though, is why one particle of CO2 is somehow better or worse than another. Why is it when we wish to produce coal to make steel that we import plenty of in finished vehicles like Toyotas, Mitsubishi, etc., somehow that's something worth protesting over? But when Air New Zealand recommences flights after COVID and starts reconnecting to New York or Vancouver or whatever, somehow that's a good thing and we all clap and applaud Air New Zealand. To me, there is a dissonance here where somehow coal is the worst thing, even though actually, like all the other fossil fuels we use, it's just part of a very uncomfortable picture.
Final word, Nikki. What do you buy? Do you buy that?
Well, I mean, I do agree. Planes are made of steel as well, so we are ignoring a whole bunch of things, and coal is being the bogeyman. But there's an economic thing here as well. This is a big export for us. So what is that putting into our economy?
Oh, in terms of export revenue, let's see. I think Bathurst, which is the company producing this, their turnover is something like $500 million a year. I think somewhere around the order of 400 or 500 million. But I mean, what I come back to, probably something that most people can get their heads around because we're all wage earners, is that mining is the highest paid sector in New Zealand. Like, pound for pound, you don't have a higher paying job. The average income is about $100,000 per year, and it's little wonder that we've got a lot of, there's a large New Zealand diaspora over in Australia, and to me it doesn't take a lot to connect the dots there. So if what we're mining is something that there's still demand for and something that we're still happy to consume, I can't see why we wouldn't capture the economic benefits here in regions like the West Coast that have been mining for centuries.
Patrick, nice to have you here. Thank you. And go well. That's Patrick Phelps, Manager and Mining Industry Group Minerals West Coast there.